I want to show you today how I make a Comfrey Poultice. I tried one yesterday and I posted it on my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, or my YouTube channel, The Secret is Gratitude. Today I'm going to show you how to do it, but I want to let my child leave, so I'm going to show you how I wrapped it. It's a shoulder poultice. She blew out all of her rotator cuff and all the muscles. There are tears in all of them, but they can't do surgery because she has bruises on her bone. So I'm just going to lift a little bit and let you see there's poultice up here, and then she hit the door and the ground when it rolled here, and so there's one down here because she still has bruising and it's very tender to the touch, and she still has neuropathy, some nerve damage down here. So anyway, I'm just showing you so she can leave how I wrapped it with an ace bandage up under the arm and then over, and then we used her tank to secure the shoulder part so that it won't come through. So I'm going to let her go and then I will show you how I made that. Okay, so yesterday I used the fresh leaves and I laid them out and I pummeled them and just left them, but she found that a little irritating because as you can see there's little fibers, those are little pokies, and that can be irritating. But if you're in the field or you don't have a blender that's strong enough to do this, it works fine, and you can just put some paper towels underneath it, some damp paper towels, or you can put some oils. We did put some oils, but she still found it a little bit irritating. She kept it on for a few hours, but did say that she would rather not have it be pokey like that again. So today I tried a different approach, and I actually like it a lot better. It's not as hard to keep them together. It's not as, I think it will actually be more effective and not as messy, and they were falling out in pieces, in chunks yesterday because they were in pieces. Okay, so what I did is I cut off a lot of the leaves. I went to a neighbor's and got this. I do not have my own comfrey plant yet, so I had to go borrow some get some from a neighbor. And they say the ones with the flowers and the ones that are growing actively have the most, I can't remember the name of the acid, olein, I can't remember. Anyway, there's an active ingredient in it that makes it work, and its common name is bone knit. So it's been used for many years for that purpose, of helping bones heal. So this is what it looks like, the leaves, and it's kind of pokey, and that's what the back looks like. The flowers are purple, and these ones aren't really budding. Let's see, they're all kind of closed, and I dehydrated most of everything. Okay, so what I did was, for the most part, I took the stems off because they have the most of that kind of aloe vera jelly kind of stuff in it. And so what I did is I took the leaves off and I dehydrated them so that I can make poultices later with the leaves in the winter time. She's going to have 6 months before she can have surgery, and we're hoping that we can heal it before then, in the muscles and the rotator cuff, so she does not need surgery. So because I don't have a plant and my neighbor is going to be cutting back for fall anyway, I'm going to dehydrate as much as I can. Here's the flowers, dehydrated, and then the leaves, and I just basically, I left some of the stalk, but for the most part I wanted the stalk for the fresh poultices. So what I did was I cut the leaves off and then I stuck the stalks in the water, and you can see there's the stalks in the water. And then when you put it in the blender, or I use a Vitamix because it works great, you can use some of the water that's been, the stalks have been sitting in, so that some of that mucus, whatever that is, healing stuff is in there, because you need a little bit of water to get it into. You don't want to add very much because then it's going to be too watery. So what I did was I just took the stalks and I put them in and used some scissors to cut them up, because if you don't, it's really fibrous and they get really stringy, and then it will wrap around your base and then it gets to be a knot. So chop them up with some kitchen shears into a couple inches, stick it in there, and then pour some of the water that you've been soaking them in there, just maybe a half a cup of water, and then the stems, and then it comes out looking like this. A little bit more watery. It's a little bit more watery, and to thicken it up, I put diatomaceous earth in it. I've seen people use wheat, but I personally have a wheat allergy, and that would cause my skin to really be irritated. So I just keep my diatomaceous earth in a sprinkly Parmesan container, and that way it's easy to use and I can just pour it out and snap it closed if I don't need it. It's just a basically ground up seashells, and it's a source of calcium. It's like a talcum powder, and so it's a good way to thicken this poultice so that it's not too watery. And so I thickened it up with that because I didn't want to use anything that would be irritating, and that's just a source of calcium, so I figured it actually could help her bone heal. The bruising is so severe they can't do surgery for, like I said, 6 months, and it's a really severe bruise. She rolled the car and landed on the driver's side, so her elbow and shoulder hit the ground really hard. So we're hoping that this can help her so that she can either get the surgery sooner and not miss out on dancing this year, or heal it well enough that she doesn't need the surgery. Since she can't have surgery for 6 months, we have 6 months to try all of these different things to see what works. So I thought about it. People use cotton fabric, but they're so thick I don't think it gets through as much, and I wanted something that would allow it to saturate into the skin. So this is what I came up with. So get paper towels. I like the ones that have the shorter section, so it's good to wrap around the shoulder. If it was any bigger, I would use one square and fold it in half, because you don't want it so big that you can't manipulate it around the bruise or the damaged bone. So I spread it on and make it kind of even, and thicken it up as much as you need to make it pasty and not drippy. You don't want this to drip. You don't want to get on their bedding. The best way to do it, I've read and researched, is overnight, and for her that is true because she's very active during the day. She has a lot of physical therapy and doctor's appointments and dance practices and things. So then, and I would show you, I don't know, it's very slimy. It's very much like aloe. It's just very mucousy. It's almost like spit almost. It's just that kind of texture, so that's probably why it's good for the tissues. So spread it thin, and then also tobacco is really good for bruising, and she still, after 3+ weeks, has bruising on her elbow and where her arm hit this door. So I actually, on hers, I'm not going to do this right now because I am going to freeze this. So I don't want to put the tobacco on yet. I want to put the tobacco on tomorrow when I put it on her, but because I don't have to make this each day, and I had the stalks already handy, I'm just going to freeze these for tomorrow, and that way they'll be cold when she goes to bed and kind of numb her arm a little bit. So they're not thick enough they can't be pliable when they're frozen, but they'll be cold so that it will kind of help her get to sleep, that coolness. So when you're about ready to put it on, you can sprinkle some tobacco leaf on it, and I could already see on hers the tobacco was already seeping through, and so I'm hoping it will draw out some more of that bruising, the heat that's still in after 3 weeks. So then once you've got the tobacco leaves on there, you know what, maybe I better just throw them on there because it's not going to be fun to open it up tomorrow. So anyway, I just sprinkled the tobacco leaves on there, and you could probably put it in the poultice, but since I don't know that I'm going to use those poultices, I might make new and leave these in the freezer or whatever. I'm guessing they would be good as long as it's a good quick freeze, that they would be good for quite a while, as long as you don't get freezer burn. Okay, so I just put some tobacco leaves on there. You could probably put them in and blend them up, but like I said, I didn't want it in the whole container. So then you can see it starting to seep through already. So what I did for hers was then I just picked it up and I just wrapped it over her shoulder, and I put the open side towards the top so that the stuff isn't dripping out and oozing. So when I wrapped it around her arms, the open area was to the top of her arm so that it wasn't dripping. And I was really happy with the way this worked out. It was much better than yesterday's, where I just crushed the leaves and then put it on. And it was a lot less irritating, and she's going to actually be able to sleep with it on, whereas last night she wasn't able to do that. Okay, so then you could put another layer of saran wrap over it, and then just take the layer of saran wrap off, and I think what I'm going to do is freeze it flat like that on a cookie sheet, and I'm going to put a clear, another layer of saran wrap. Actually, you know what, I probably will use wax paper. I'll just probably put a layer of wax paper over it, then do another clear wrap, another poultice, wax paper, clear wrap, poultice, wax paper, and then I'm going to freeze them just flat like this so that they're cold, they're bendable, and I can just put it on her and then just wrap. Because once I take this off from the wax paper, I can just lay this right on her shoulder and then just wrap the plastic wrap around on top and then wrap the ace bandage to hold it all in place. So I will make a bunch of these, as much as I have the Comfrey for, and freeze them, and that will be really handy for the days that I don't actually want to go to the neighbors and get some fresh. So I'll freeze these, and I can check out my blog. I'll update on my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and update how it worked for her. And also, if you don't have fresh, now I've got this dehydrated, I would just dump that into the Vitamix and blend it up into a fine powder, and then just add water to get it to this consistency. And then you wouldn't have to add any diatomaceous earth, because in the powder form, it's just when you add water, it's going to be pasty like this anyway. So this diatomaceous earth is only when it's too liquidy to thicken it up. You don't have to use a diatomaceous earth at all. It can't hurt. Like I said, it's a source of calcium, so it's not going to hurt anything. Nobody's going to probably have allergies to it. It's just ground up seashells. So good way to have Comfrey for poultices in the wintertime, not take up freezer space. Once I crush these up into flour, they'll fit into a small Tupperware, and I can make a poultice anytime, and it's easier for me just to make enough for one poultice rather than freezing them and taking up freezer space. But because I have the fresh, we're going to go ahead and do the freezer one. But I am going to continue to dehydrate some and use that for when I don't have the fresh in a couple of months. So hopefully I've been clear and made it understandable, and you can get most of it out, and it poured out pretty easily, and it seems to be working great. I love the way it wrapped, and I think it's probably a really good, much better method than the one I tried yesterday. Thanks for watching.